The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It is yet another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, without taking much of your time, we're going straight into the big issue of the day, which is the rumble in the judiciary over the siege on Justice Mary Peter Odili's residence. And of course, with me here in the studio, our in-house analyst, Silas Ezeugu, and Chibuzo Kaibi. And of course, I'm your regular host, George Agba is the name. Well, the Supreme Court broke its silence on the inversion of the home of one of its justices, Mary Peter Odili, and of course, alleging that it was an attempt to maim and kill her. And of course, apart from the Supreme Court, the body of senior advocates of Nigeria have actually come out to asking for a thorough investigation into the matter. And of course, the Nigerian Bar Association are also out. And of course, they say there are plans to petition the Legal Practitioners Council against the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami. And of course, the controversy had even gone to a stage where the Chief Magistrate, Mr. Emmanuel Iyana, is saying that he was being misled by the Ministry of Justice to issue a search warrant on Justice Odili's residence. Chukwuzo, this is a very dicey situation. We've seen a situation where it was very clear that security operatives were laid siege on the home of a Supreme Court justice, and now nobody is owning up. The police said they are not involved. The EFCC said we didn't do it. The DSS say they are not involved. The Attorney General said he didn't order anything of such. What this kind of scenario, how could you actually place it?
I think it's all building to the unknown soldier saga of the past. I don't know how embarrassing how low or how embarrassing we can get in this country that people would, security operatives, let me use, for want of a better word, who stormed the residence of a Supreme Court justice. And the fallout of that is all of the denials that we have got to see. It's embarrassing enough for a Nigerian looking at this, but you can imagine how the international community sees this, how we are perceived, and so it just shows you the level of disorganization on the one hand, and the sense of, I'm even lost for words on how to capture how seriously embarrassing this situation is. And then when you put in perspective to the danger that could have happened, because if that scenario had degenerated any further, it was just like a situation where a spark was needed for, exchange of fire to happen, because there was practically a standoff. And so at that point, you can only hazard a guess what could have happened if, for one funny reason, one of the security operatives starts to shoot. So you can imagine what would have happened. That we would have that kind of scenario, and if the justice had been killed, we would have been at a point where you say, nobody will take responsibility for that. So It's amazing that we have gotten that the security architecture can get to a point like this, where everybody is now, pointing pointing the blame at the next person, and everybody is trying to. It's just shocking. It's just shocking. And so all we hear now is probe, probe, probe. We need a probe, and I can tell you, in the next couple of days, we'll move on, and all of this saga will just go like previous ones.
Well, Silas, if all the supposed security authorities are denying involvement in this siege on Justice Odili's house, then does it not show that security has totally collapsed in the country?
No, it's not about collapsing.
Yes.
There is this concept of the ungun men that we're hearing more about in the East. We have unknown gunmen,
Yes.
but we're talking about those who are ungun
Known men.
They have gun and they are so it it had a linkage. And if you talk to anybody in the Southeast, they'll tell you that they don't know those who are behind the instability in the whole of the Southeast, and it is geared towards a particular goal. And you can see such a thing happening to somebody, in far away from the Southeast. This person is a fine specimen of one of the best hands we have in the judiciary, from what I've read about her. It just happened, unfortunately, that she's married to a politician. Okay? If not, it's like she's getting a bit of a taint from the fact that she married to an Odili who, for some reasons, the judiciary had not able to put him on trial because of corruption allegations. We're not saying he's guilty, so that somehow the trial had not got going all this while, like other governors. But otherwise, from her records, from the work she has done in the past, people speak highly of her high acumen, her application of the justice system to defend the defenseless, and make that judgment. Even when other people are shying away, she will stand her foot and say, "This is the right thing to do," even if it's not going to give her any favors. Okay, so it's not about security falling down. It's just that those who are in charge are trying to manipulate the security to achieve some narrow ends, and then and it's not helping matters. It don't start today. It didn't start today. We are all here when in 2016 they staged a midnight raid on judges' homes. Justice Nguta, I think he's dead now. Justice Ademola, one from the southwest, and another Justice Okoro of the Supreme Court. And one of those judges, the one, I think Ademola or something, pointedly said, accused the AGF. I'm not saying he's involved, but he accused the AGF of being the mastermind and refreshing, their linkage in the past, where he brought a petition against the AGF, Ms. Malami, as a senior, before he became a senior advocate, for misconduct, which cost him the sanction at that time. And it took some kind of wish-wash, according to him, allegation, wish-wash apology, from Malami at that time, for the authorities to make him a son. And he now said this man has been after him since then. Okay, if you are calling his name this time around, maybe he's not the one, but he cannot tell me the whole judiciary in the country is under his watch, on his watch. And if the judiciary gave this kind of a warrant to the law enforcement unit, it's up to him to find out what happened. Because he's one of the most important minister in this country, as it is. So he needs to find out what happened. Since then to now, and we're still saying we're not involved, it's not enough. But now we should pin down to the person. Okay, the chief judge, the chief magistrate said, I was mistaken. Okay, who did you give this? Who collected this? Those guys didn't go there on their own accord. If you know the way the police works and the army, somebody must have said, go and do this. And the way they went there with all the bravado, it shows that somebody in the East, in the Igbo land, they say, if you see, what do you call it? If you see a bird dancing by the roadside, somebody inside the bush is beating the drum. For them to have that effrontery to go there and start have that standoff for such a long, somebody sent them and we need to know who did it. You should not go under the. You should not wash it under the carpet like before. The CTT chairman that assaulted somebody in Panex. I used to hear about him with all the video
We don't even know
evidence
the level of
everywhere.
investigation.
The Code of Conduct Bureau chairman. What's that name again? Do you know his name again?
What's this? Dan Ladi.
Yes,
Omar.
that was harassing the Senate president then. His case now, nobody's talking about it again. They should not allow this one to go this way because they don't know the danger they are the damage they're causing the Nigerian system. But when people now feel like they can do and undo this way, it's not just at that level, it's at other levels. People take law into their hands and know that nothing will happen after a short time, the thing will blow over and will go ahead. That's why people call accuse Nigerians of having a collective amnesia. After 2-3 weeks, it will blow over.
Well, you see, in a statement issued by the Director of Press and Information of the Supreme Court, Festus Akande, this is what the apex court, the highest court in the land, had to say about the issue. And let's just get the Supreme Court verbatim. He said, "We are alarmed with the news of the unwarranted and despicable raid on the official residence of one of our senior justices in the Supreme Court, Honorable Justice Mary Peter Odili, JSC CFRO, on Friday, October 29, 2021, in a Gestapo manner that unfortunately depicted a gory picture of war by some armed persons suspected to be security operatives representing different agencies of government who seem to have come to kill and maim their target under the guise of undertaking a search whose warrant was questionable and baseless." Okay.
So not just the police,
Yes.
across agencies.
Agencies, not just one.
You expect you have the FCC,
the EFCC,
police, and that's why we don't know about it.
and if care is not taken, civil defense.
Huh?
Okay.
And
Now,
maybe even Peace Corps.
thank you.
Anyway, that's
So
aside.
it has become a pattern, Chubuzo, where under this government, homes of judges are always invaded in the name of search and the rest. And it seems that one arm of government is just trying to muzzle the judiciary. Is this a healthy development for our democracy?
It's obviously not healthy. There's no way it can be healthy under any normal circumstance. But again, when this whole process started, when this awkward activity started, whereby security operatives would barge into houses of judges as far back as 2016, as Mr. Silas pointed out, so people clapped. They were cheered on. It was seen as something that needed to be done in the fight of anti-corruption fight. That was the description some people gave it, and so they clapped. And so it gave those who felt they were doing a crusade in the fight for the fight against corruption. They needed a certain sense of impetus to continue what they were doing. And so all that's caution that yes, it is good to fight whatever thing you have to fight, corruption or whatever you're fighting. But there's a very thin line between, going it the way you are going and the impact it would have on the democratic ethos of the country. And I think these guys have become so emboldened that now they feel they can just pull things off and the end will justify the means, which is very sad. And so for the judiciary to be crying now, I don't remember hearing them shout as loudly as they are now when it was happening then. I'm not trying to rub it in their faces anyway. But I think if they had made very strong pronouncements then, perhaps you probably wouldn't have gotten to this point. But that said, so many institutions have called it out. The National Assembly have also Also, members of the National Assembly have spoken up on this. The opposition naturally has spoken up on this, and the state governor that is, of our state has also spoken up, and they all seem to be calling for an independent probe and an investigation into what has happened. Earlier, I expressed a certain level of pessimism that nothing is going to come out of it, going by the tradition. So I am yet to. I wish I can be proved wrong. I honestly wish I can be proved wrong. Perhaps the only way I can be proved wrong on this is if the momentum continues on the demand for an independent probe. Because if they just say do a probe, and it dies out, then you can be sure that it will go the other way. It will go the way of others. So until we have that, I can almost say that by the end of this period, as it stands now, this story or this incident has had a serious battle with the incident of Anambra, because the Anambra election and all the drama and even the 21-story building now appears to have drowned this whole matter. So you can be sure that after the Anambra situation, some other thing would come up, or the Anambra matter might even drag for a couple of days because of the controversies and all of the funny things. So it will be hard to see how this matter will become a topical issue after now, unless the Supreme Court really pursues this, and make sure it remains on the front burner, because they're the key actors in this whole situation. So they have to find a way of making this, remain on the front burner. Because if they take their feet off the, you can be sure that it's going to go
under the carpet
the way other ones have gone.
Well, before we continue, let's just quickly take a short break, and we'll be back in a moment.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter. The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back. We are still on the Big Issue in Leadership Podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the rumble in Judiciary over the siege on Justice Mary Peter Odili's residence. Well, back to what we're saying. Silas, there are people that are reading ethnic and regional dimension into this siege saga. And of course, they are saying because Justice Odili is from the south, and they are now recalling that almost something similar, the same fate befell the former CJN Justice Walter Onogle. And now the thinking is that since Justice Odili is the most senior Supreme Court justice, who is next to the present Chief Justice of Nigeria, the idea is that they're looking for a way to kick her out so that she will not succeed the next agent. What do you think of that?
Well, it's unfortunate that for a while now, the judiciary has been lured into, dragged into the political fold. You see them getting more and more involved in political issues. Okay? In fact, these days, if you won at the polls, you cannot be sure that you won until one judge says you won. You don't know that sometimes they're not the one that gives you the what? The mandate.
The mandate.
We will know the case of the Southeast where somebody came in fourth and usually made him the governor. And that seat has not known peace in that time.
Don't call them Supreme Court. Don't call them Supreme Court.
People call him that, I don't know. So, I stand to be corrected. But, once something like that happens, people begin to look at, because the fact that the whole thing is shrouded in controversy in mystery is throwing a lot of, conspiracy theories. And this government has always had to deal with conspiracy theories since the time it came. Sometimes you see they're appointing only people from one side to security architecture and appointments and other things, even the setting of projects, everything has showed some kind of bent. And that's why whatever happens now, people look at it from that perspective that maybe this is another of such parochial considerations. But I was talking to somebody, I've not checked myself really, I'm not sure. But somebody told me that actually that uh, the, the current CGN, thank you, actually at last all the day in the judiciary. And even though she's second in command, she is due to retire next year or thereabout, while the CGN will retire in 2023. So if that is the case, then the issue of because she's going to take over does not really arise. The only issue there is if we're not praying for it anyway, anybody can drop dead. And if people don't die by age anyway. If that position becomes vacant by any mistake, you cannot step in. That's the only way she can become, going by what I learned. Okay. But and the fact that if you look at all the judges that are raided, they're all from the south. From Bhutan to Koro to I think Ademola or something. The one that accused Malami of shunting him. They're all from the south. Now all the day has joined. I can remember Onogen. See the way they dealt to Onogen, And Onogen, after leaving office, he said they accused him of having hobnobbed with Atiku out of election. And he swore that he never met Atiku in any place. So you can see that politics is at the heart of what happened to the school or these top judges. And everybody in Nigeria knew when Onogen was going through what he went through, that what was going through was actually politically motivated. And now we are seeing. I read a wish-wash statement of one obscure group who was trying to say it was PDP family that was attacking the woman because the woman is not a PDP member. As a judge, she is apolitical. It's true that her husband is a politician who has not even been very active per se for some time, but she is a professional to the court and she's a judge and should be treated and regarded as such. So, come to the question you mentioned. Those who are saying that you cannot dismiss what they're saying as true or not until the investigations are carried out and we know what actually happened, if we ever get to know. Because sometimes this solution, what they do is to keep quiet. And when you ask and nothing happens, you go and sit down and nothing happens. And Chipo said it, in the next few weeks or thereabout, other issues, emergent issues will drown this one out unless the judiciary feels aggrieved enough
Push the matter
to keep it on a boiling pot.
on the front burner.
Yes, so that
And insist.
so that we have a judicial independent judicial inquiry to look into what happened. Either the executive from the AGS office will set up a panel, but they can't even do it because it stands accused.
Yeah, exactly.
So he cannot adjudicate in this matter.
Exactly.
According to law, I don't know the law too much, but it's not in a position to do that. Then the National Assembly is only other body which can set up a panel to look at what happened. I mean, the fact that it was an intelligence something shows that there was a level of governmental organization behind it.
Very coordinated.
So to just say we are not involved, like the governor of Rivers said, it's not enough. If you are not involved, then who is involved? It's not a job to find out. You don't know who is involved. I gave them 14 hours. I'm sure that as passed there, nothing has passed there, and nothing has been done. They want to keep quiet, like other things that happened. Like I mentioned, the city chairman, they keep quiet. The other senator from Adamawa, what's it again?
Lashabo.
That was assaulting somebody on camera. That matter. Do you see how
In a section.
in a sex toy shop?
Mm.
Do you see how those matters have just been allowed to die naturally, and people who have been aggrieved had to swallow it? No. We should not continue this way.
Because
Otherwise, the world will just keep taking us as if we're not serious.
it happens this way because I think in Nigeria we are like living in an animal farm where some animals are more equal than the others. Because the whole thing is so baffling. A situation where somebody had said, who said that? Was it Abacha? The late Abacha. He said that any insurgency that lasts for more than how many hours?
For 10 hours?
Yes, I think there's the likelihood that government's hand is in it. Because some are saying that the matter should not be taken serious. Now, SANS, the body of SANS, they went to the AGF, asked him to investigate the matter. The NBA, they have been threatening to petition, to file a petition against the AGF. And you see, we've not seen the presidency even issuing a statement in this regard. Unlike before, you would have seen Femi Adesina and Garba will come in now to issue a statement.
In fact, something as serious as this,
Thank you.
they've not spoken.
Nothing
But if someone like
yes.
Bishop Booker now sniffs, just sneezes,
Thank
they
you.
will come out with a big insult against.
Yes.
If you say anything, but look at something as serious
Yes.
as
Nigerians are asking,
security in the Nigerian judiciary,
why is it
and
that the government
it's of government, they just get quiet
the
about it.
government is treating the
So
whole thing with levity.
it points to something. It points to something. If the government is giving quiet about it, they know about it. They should tell us what's happening.
Of course. Yes, so at the end of the day, this same government must do something. Because if it must restore its confidence, it has to do something to convince Nigerians that that invasion of Justice Odili's house was not a deliberate one. What do you think the government must do to actually exonerate itself? What do you think? I know you ask.
Can
But
they-
most Nigerians are saying that
The notion of exonerating itself, I don't want to stand there and pass judgment. The notion of exonerating itself indicates the culpability. And I can't just, pass that kind of judgment because it will be prejudicial.
But no, at the end of the day, it's not culpability.
Wait,
What Nigerians are saying is that government is a suspect from its action.
fine. But there is no what we are saying here are things that we presuppose puts them in a position where they have to now defend themselves. You understand? So
See, don't try to politically correct.
No,
Don't say it the way it is.
no,
If they are not involved, tell us who is involved.
Mr. Silas.
You understand? Who is involved?
Mr. Silas, we are not making the same mistakes
That
that we accuse of some other organizations of. It is here we condemn EFCC and co for dragging people to the media space and accusing them of corruption without proper trial and investigation. So
But you're asking them to find out who
wait,
did it.
wait. No. Yes, it's a different thing to find out who did it. I'm coming.
Does not want to drag
Can I explain? I won't be dragging myself into accusing government of something that I have nothing to back my accusations.
Who owns the police?
Fine.
They said, thank you. Those agents that went there, who owns
I
them?
agree, but is
Who
there
pays- who pays their
evidence?
salary?
Wait, is there an evidence yet that it came from that move came from government?
See,
There is no
the
evidence.
court order.
I'm coming.
The
sir.
warrant came from a
I am
government
coming,
source.
sir.
Huh? And you issued it.
I am
And say you
coming,
issued
sir.
it to so and so. And those are not
You
private
see,
people.
you
They are what?
we are making the same mistakes
What's the mistake?
that we accuse these people of.
What is the mistake
We
here?
have all called for an investigation, for a panel, for a
That's what
probe.
I'm asking for.
Then why don't you wait for the probe to do its work?
Because they say,
We are waiting for them.
Exactly.
But now, okay.
Why will we?
No,
Why will
there's
we?
no panel yet.
Wait. Why will we on one
There's
hand?
no work panel yet.
Why will we on one hand
There's no
insist?
petition,
Why
you know
will we
about.
on one hand insist that the probe should be done,
Yes.
and on the other hand we say, I think you have your hand in
No,
this.
imagine this type of a thing.
This-
Why? See what Nigeria.
I didn't say.
They are not saying that government is culpable. What
Don't
they are
say that.
saying is that government's attitude
Fine.
towards it
It's,
is
But
not
the
good.
silence is suspect, right?
suspect.
So
So
what
what
you
you can do is to wash it out of case. So
Yes.
we don't know about saying, look at who are
Mhm.
culpable.
Yes.
That was what is in job
Are you
more.
saying
Fine.
that if the
I
government
didn't do it,
wants
so
to
who
find
did
out,
it?
Fine.
yes.
That's what we can say. I didn't do it, so yes. Who did it?
Fine, and that is what will prove that.
A panel. Let them set up an
The panel-
independent
and panel
inquiry.
has been called for, and that was why I said
Have they
the
set
only
it up?
good
After since then?
who will make that pressure for you to be set up?
So all the courts
That
coming
was
from
why I
the-
said- that
from
was
the
why I said
judiciary,
earlier.
from the bar
Mr.
association,
Silas.
from what all the people call it, it's not enough to pay them.
Mr. Silas, that was why I said earlier in my first submission, I said, unless the judiciary makes its case strongly on this,
Let me even say
this
something.
matter is not
It's
going to
not
go
just
the
about
same
the
way
judiciary.
previous ones have gone.
See, don't you have
I'm using the judiciary. I'm not saying it's just the judiciary.
Judiciary works for all Nigerians.
Yes.
I'm not
The
saying
government should be
judiciary.
interested in making sure the judiciary is well protected.
Good.
So must we push them to do what is right by the judiciary? Do we have to push them to do that?
The interested party has
If
to
we
be in the
have to,
forefront
if
of
we have to
this.
push them to do what is right, what does it tell you?
We are looking at a peculiar situation in Nigeria. What
Okay.
situation do we have in Nigeria? Do we have a government or a system that listens to that does what it ought to do?
Okay.
They do not until they
we
are
have
pushed to
said
do.
it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
So
well.
whoever is affected directly has to continue to make that case for why this matter should not go under. But for me to say and say, oh, government, your silence is suspicious. Your silence is suspicious, and so I think you probably have a hand in this matter. I don't want to make that kind of assumption too early. However,
we didn't make that point. So we didn't say
however,
it
it
pushes
is
them to
important.
show
It is
that their
important
cards are clean.
that this matter it remains on the front burner, and the people who can make this, if you've mentioned the National Assembly, you can be sure that when it gets there, they are also politicians. 2023 is at the back of their minds.
Right.
Let's not forget that. So by the time it gets there, they can always do the panel. Don't forget, there's a saying too in Nigeria: the easiest way to hide a report is to set up a panel.
To
So
hide the
even
crime.
they had a crime rather to set up a panel. So it's not even enough to set up that panel. It is enough to see that the people that are directly involved in this, the direct victims, and the judiciary has the capacity to make that point clear. If they insist and they continue to stoke, the embers of this probe or demand for the proper investigation into this matter, if they leave it into the hands of other arms of government, you can be sure what will happen.
You're
That's
right,
where I'm coming
I
from.
think
where
apart
I'm
from
coming
even the judiciary shouting, their own cause, in the media too.
Of course, the
We can,
media.
we can do that and
The
make
media.
sure that we continue to put it.
Of
So
course,
that
the
people
media
are
front
aware.
burner.
No,
Yeah.
the reason
So that we deal with
the media is
and
always
with the missing Chibok.
Yeah.
You can just put a press. Look, this matter will not go until the day of the day.
Of course.
Keep bringing it up.
of course the media is always there. The media is always there, But the media also have to work. We also have to work with information, And so that is why those people, this set of people, who are directly in the line of fire,
should spearhead.
Well, the die is cast, and of course, the Supreme Court has said that the siege on Justice Mary Peter Odili's residence is a full declaration of war on the judiciary. And of course, it's our duty here to keep you tapped with events as it unfolds. For now, that is the much we can take for the big issue, on the big issue. And of course, join us same time next week, Monday, for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.